Hi, welcome to Audiobook Academy. This is a self-paced audiobook. There's no need to keep an eye on things. Just pay attention. Thank you for taking the time to listen. Book summary of Deep Work by Cal Newport. Cal Newport's deep work is a work of art. Deep work is defined as the ability to concentrate on a cognitively demanding task without being distracted by other things. Shallow work is non-cognitively demanding, logistical-style work that is frequently carried out while being distracted by other tasks. A superpower in today's increasingly competitive 21st century economy, deep work is a necessity for survival. You must be willing to put in the necessary time and effort to produce the absolute best work you are capable of. In today's economy, the ability to quickly master difficult tasks, as well as the ability to produce at an elite level in terms of both quality and speed, are two essential abilities for surviving and prospering. If you want to learn difficult things quickly, you must concentrate intensely and avoid distractions. Your work is craft, and if you hone your ability and apply it with respect and care, then you can generate meaning in the daily efforts of your professional life, just as the skilled wheelwright does. A deep work habit is formed by going beyond good intentions and incorporating rituals into your working life that reduce the amount of willpower required to transition into and maintain an uninterrupted state of concentration. Deep work is defined as professional activities performed in a state of distraction-free concentration that pushes your cognitive abilities to their limits. Deep work is defined as these efforts add new value to the world, improve your abilities, and are difficult to duplicate. Shallow work is defined as non-cognitively demanding, logistical-style tasks that are frequently performed while being distracted by other tasks. These endeavors are not likely to add much new value to the world and are simple to replicate in other places. It is the belief of Newport that if you spend enough time in a state of frenetic shallowness, you will permanently diminish your ability to perform deep work. It is not a nostalgic affliction of writers and early 20th century philosophers that deep work is a thing of the past. It is, on the other hand, a skill that is extremely valuable today. You must be willing to put in the necessary time and effort to produce the absolute best work you are capable of. Deep work, according to Cal Newport, is the superpower of the 21st century. This is known as the deep work hypothesis, and it states that the ability to perform deep work is becoming increasingly rare at the same time that it is becoming increasingly valuable in our economy. As a result, the few who are able to cultivate this skill and then make it the foundation of their professional lives will prosper. According to Newport's own words, "A core of carefully chosen deep work serves as the foundation of my days, with the shallow activities that I absolutely cannot avoid being crammed into shorter periods on the outskirts of my schedule. The results of 3 to 4 hours of uninterrupted and carefully directed concentration per day, 5 days a week, it turns out, can yield a significant amount of valuable output." In today's economy, the ability to quickly master difficult tasks, as well as the ability to produce at an elite level in terms of both quality and speed, are two essential abilities for surviving and prospering. According to the researchers, the differences between expert performers and normal adults reflect a lifelong period of deliberate effort to improve performance in a specific domain. The core components of deliberate practice are typically identified as follows: 1. Your attention is tightly focused on a specific skill you're trying to improve or an idea you're trying to master. 2. You receive feedback so you can adjust your approach in order to keep your attention exactly where it's most productive. And 3. You receive feedback so you can correct your approach in order to keep your attention exactly where it's most productive. According to this new science of performance, you get better at a skill as your myelin around the relevant neurons increases, allowing the corresponding circuit to fire more effortlessly and effectively. To be excellent at something requires a healthy myelinated nervous system. As a result of placing a high level of concentration on a specific skill, you are forcing the specific relevant circuit to fire on and off repeatedly and in isolation. Because of this repeated use of a specific circuit, cells known as oligodendrocytes are stimulated to begin wrapping layers of myelin around the neurons in the circuit, thereby effectively cementing the ability. If you want to learn difficult things quickly, you must concentrate intensely and avoid distractions. As a result, when your attention is diverted away from one task A to another task B, a residue of your attention remains focused on the original task A, especially if your work on task A was unbounded and of low intensity before you switched. But even if you finish task A before switching, your attention will be divided for a short period of time. People who experience attention residue after switching tasks are more likely to demonstrate poor performance on the next task, according to Sophie Leroy, and the more intense the residue, the worse the performance. In order to produce at your peak level, you must work for long periods of time with complete concentration on a single task that is free of distractions. Using the principle of least resistance, We will tend to engage in behaviors that are most convenient in the moment, especially in a business setting where we do not have clear feedback on how our actions affect our bottom line. It is only through clarity about what matters that we can gain clarity about what does not. As a proxy for productivity, many knowledge workers turn to an industrial indicator of productivity, doing a lot of things in a visible manner. Deep work is at a severe disadvantage in a technopoly because it is founded on values such as quality, craftsmanship, and mastery, which are decidedly old-fashioned and non-technological in nature. When people are deeply involved in something challenging, it appears that they perform at their highest level. In order to achieve deep satisfaction, it is necessary to organize your working life around the experience of flow that comes from doing deep work. Your work is craft, and if you hone your ability and apply it with respect and care, then you can generate meaning in the daily efforts of your professional life, just as the skilled wheelwright does. You have a finite amount of willpower, and as you use it, it becomes depleted more quickly. A deep work habit is formed by going beyond good intentions and incorporating rituals into your working life that reduce the amount of willpower required to transition into and maintain an uninterrupted state of concentration. In order to integrate deep work into your professional life, you must develop your own philosophy. Choosing a philosophy that is appropriate for your specific circumstances is critical, as a mismatch here can derail your deep work habit before it has a chance to become established. Donald Knuth employs a philosophy of deep work scheduling that I refer to as the monastic philosophy. It is the goal of this philosophy to maximize deep efforts while eliminating or drastically reducing shallow obligations. In my work on deep work, I refer to Carl Jung's approach as the bimodal philosophy of deep work. In accordance with this philosophy, you should divide your time, devoting some clearly defined stretches to deep pursuits and leaving the remainder open to everything else. It is argued by the rhythmic philosophy that the most straightforward way to consistently begin deep work sessions is to turn them into a simple, regular habit. Walter Isaacson, according to John Paul Newport, it was always incredible. For a while, he could retreat to his bedroom while the rest of us were relaxing on the patio or doing whatever we were doing to work on his book. For 20 minutes or an hour, we'd hear the typewriter pounding, and then he'd come down just as relaxed as the rest of us. Despite the fact that the work never seemed to bother him, he just happily went up to work whenever he had the opportunity. The journalistic philosophy is that you fit in as much deep work as you can into your schedule as you can. Building rituals with the same level of strictness and idiosyncrasy as the important thinkers mentioned previously will help you get the most out of your deep work sessions, says the author. A specific location for your deep work efforts must be specified in your ritual. Regardless of where you work, be sure to set a time limit for yourself to ensure that the session remains a discrete challenge rather than an open-ended slog. To keep your efforts organized, rules and processes are required for your ritual. In order to boost perceived importance of a deep work task, you should leverage a radical change in your normal environment, possibly accompanied by a significant investment of time or money, all of which should be dedicated to assisting with the task. A round-trip business class ticket to Tokyo was purchased by Peter Shankman. In Japan, he wrote for the entire flight, stopped for an espresso in the business class lounge once he arrived, then turned around and flew back to the United States, this time writing the entire flight, arriving back in the United States only 30 hours after he first left with a completed manuscript in hand. The 4 disciplines of execution are as follows: 4DX. The ability to perform the following deep work rules is included in these rules. 1. Concentrate on the extremely important. 2. Take action regarding lead measures. 3. Maintain an eye-catching scoreboard. 4. Establish a cyclical system of accountability. In the case of someone who is committed to deep work, the implication is that you should identify a small number of ambitious outcomes to pursue during your deep work hours. In the words of David Brooks, if you want to win the war for attention, don't try to say no to all the trivial distractions you find on the information smorgasbord. Instead, try to say yes to the subject that causes you to feel a terrifying longing, and allow that terrifying longing to drown out everything else around you. This can be accomplished through the use of lag measures and lead measures, which are both available in 4DX. In the end, the lag measures describe the thing that you are attempting to improve. Leading indicators are those that measure the new behaviors that will drive success on the lag measures, according to one definition. Lead measures direct your attention to improving the behaviors that you directly control in the near future, which will then have a positive impact on your long-term goals, explains the author. At the end of the workday, turn off all work-related thoughts until the next morning, no after-dinner email checks, no mental replays of conversations, and no daydreaming about how you'll handle a looming challenge. Turn off all work-related thoughts completely. Reason number 1, downtime is beneficial for gaining new insights. Reason number 2, downtime allows you to refuel your energy reserves so that you can work more deeply. Reason number 3, the work that is replaced by evening downtime is typically not of great importance. A deep work training program must have at least 2 objectives: improving your ability to concentrate intensely while also overcoming your desire for distraction. The advice is to plan ahead of time when you'll be using the internet, and then avoid using it entirely outside of those times. The craftsman's approach to tool selection consists of the following steps: identify the critical factors that influence your level of success and happiness in both your personal and professional life. You should only use a tool if its positive impacts on these factors outweigh its negative impacts by a significant margin. It is necessary to identify the main high-level goals in both your professional and personal life before beginning the craftsman approach to tool selection, according to the authors. The key is to keep the list to the most important items and to keep the descriptions to a suitable level of detail. After finishing this exercise, you should have a small number of goals for both your personal and professional lives. Once you've identified your objectives, make a list of the 2 or 3 most important activities that will help you achieve your objectives for each objective. These activities should be specific enough that you can clearly visualize yourself engaging in them. But they must be broad enough that they are not tied exclusively to a specific outcome. The next step in this strategy is to take into account the network tools that you are currently utilizing. To determine whether a particular tool has a significant positive impact on your regular and successful participation in a particular activity, go through the key activities you identified and ask whether the use of the tool has a significant positive impact, a significant negative impact, or no significant impact on your regular and successful participation in the activity. Now comes the difficult decision: continue to use this tool only if you have determined that it has significant positive effects and that these outweigh the negative effects. Upon completion of 30 days of self-imposed network isolation, ask yourself the following 2 questions about each of the services you temporarily discontinued. Would my life have been significantly better over the last 30 days if I had been able to take advantage of this service? What did people think about the fact that I wasn't utilizing this service? If you answered no to both questions, you should terminate your service immediately. Assuming that your answer was an unequivocal yes, proceed to use the service again. The superficial work that is increasingly taking up the time and attention of knowledge workers is less important than it appears at the time, says the author. In a given day, how long can a person maintain intense concentration on a given task? A reasonable time limit of 1 hour per day is suggested by Anders Ericsson, for someone who is new to such practice, in this case, a child in the early stages of developing a skill at the expert level. It is possible that the time limit will be increased to something like 4 hours for those who are familiar with the rigors of such activities. We spend the majority of our days operating on autopilot, paying little attention to what we're doing with our time. Thank you for listening in Audiobook Academy. Please don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. See you in next audiobook.